In this video, we're going to run Service 3 and look at the performance of the service whilst it is running. Again, we will use the perf command to generate some HTTP traffic to invoke Service 3, and then we'll use the nmon tool to look at system-level activity and the ACE Web UI to see what the message flow performance looks like. As the perf client starts to generate traffic, we can see that the message rate is around 17 messages per second. And significantly, we can see in the nmon screen that the system CPU usage is high. We see in nmon that it is the integration server PD MISC that is using almost all of the CPU. And this is where we need to focus the investigation on. This is the web UI for the integration server PD MISC, which hosts Service 3. We select the PD demo MISC application, which is where Service 3 is located, and then flow statistics, and we get a summary of all of the message flows running in this integration server. We can see on this screen that Service 3 has a high average CPU elapsed time of 171 milliseconds and a high average CPU time of 170 milliseconds. So this is very likely going to be the cause of the high CPU usage, but we need to dig deeper to check. This view shows the flow that is using a lot of CPU, but not which node in the message flow. For that, we need to go into the more detailed view for this message flow, so we select Service 3 and the Flow Statistics and Layout tab. We have already identified that this is a high CPU usage issue, and so we want to look for nodes that are using a lot of CPU. One stands out, and that is Service 3 Compute node, which is using around 170 milliseconds of CPU on average, which is a lot of CPU for an ACE message flow selection. It has an average elapsed time that is similar to the average CPU time, and so there is likely no other delay in this node. It's simply using a lot of CPU doing something. We've got as far as we can in the investigation using the web UI. We know which node is the one causing the delay. Next, we need to see the message flow source to see what is running within that node. So let's go to the ACE toolkit to see the source. Here is Service 3. We click on the Service 3 compute node and we can see the ESQL that runs in that node. There is a loop in the ESQL calculating the square root of the loop index, which goes up to 250,000. This is the cause of the high CPU usage. It's a contrived example in this case, but it could equally have been ESQL processing a very large result set from a database query where millions of records are retrieved because of a poorly coded SQL query. So there are real cases where CPU activity is so high. That is it. We found the cause of the delay. The key stage in this case was finding a node that had a high average CPU time. We had an inkling that it was a high CPU usage issue when looking at the nmon display and could see that the CPU usage was high and it was all being consumed by the integration server hosting the service that we were running. Again, note how we needed to look at the message flow source to find the cause of the delay, but by using the web UI to look at the node elapsed and CPU times, we know exactly which node to look at in the toolkit, which made problem determination much easier and quicker.